Mr. Kvaal, your title as Undersecretary indicates you report directly to Secretary Cardona. Is that correct?
I do.
Okay. So I would presume it's fair to say that you and the Secretary communicate regularly, on a regular basis, I should say, particularly as it relates to major post-secondary education policies. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Would these conversations have included conversations related to the President's debt relief plan, as it's been called, that was announced on August 24?
Well, I don't want to get into specifics of private conversation, but as you say, we regularly communicate on major higher education policy issues.
Would you have discussed this plan before it was announced on August 24?
I mean, I don't want to get into details of specifically what I do and don't provide to the Secretary, but again, I do regularly.
So he would not have included you in conversations?
No, that's not what I said.
All.
I said we talk regularly on major higher education issues.
When was the decision made to move forward with this student loan transfer scheme that was announced on August 24? When was the decision made to do that?
I believe the Secretary signed that memo on August 24.
When was the decision made to do it?
Well, the official action was the Secretary's signature, which was on August 24.
When were you made aware of the decision? Were you surprised when you heard about it on August 24, or did you know about it before then?
I was among the group of people who were involved in preparing that decision memo for the Secretary.
Because you had conversation with the Secretary about that decision?
Well, again, I'm not quite sure where you're going.
I want to know when the decision was made, or when you learned of the decision that was made that was announced on August 24.
Well, the Secretary signed the
memo. The American people have the right to know that, a decision like that would have such tremendous impact.
The decision was official when the Secretary signed the memorandum on August 24.
All right, who was the person who ultimately made the decision that was announced on August 24?
The Secretary.
Secretary made the decision.
That's correct.
That was announced on August 24. So it was Secretary Cardona who was ultimately responsible for making the decision to move forward the debt relief plan, or what I would call the student loan transfer scheme that was announced on August 24. You've just confirmed. But Secretary Cardona was quoted in a June 2 political article, saying that he was ready to roll when the White House reaches a final decision on broad-based student debt relief. But you said it was Secretary Cardona who made that decision. He said he was ready to roll when the White House made a decision on, as quoted on June 2. On July 28, according to another Politico article, documents were provided to the media showing how FSA was prepared to provide loan cancellation, but the article states, quote, "The Education Department documents do not reflect any final decision on how the White House may ultimately choose to structure debt relief, and that Biden plans to decide by the end of August." The comments in the press by Secretary Cardona make it sound like the final decision and timing for the debt transfer scheme were made by the White House as opposed to the Secretary. Your testimony here today is that it was made by the Secretary. Also, according to an August Washington Post story, the President's decision, quote, to go big on student loans was based on discussions with over 20 senior White House officials, radical pro-cancellation advocacy groups, and other key officials, but the article does not mention Secretary Cardona's name regarding the decision to transfer payment responsibility for student loans. Doesn't mention Secretary Cardona. In addition, Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar argued at the Supreme Court that the debt scheme decisions were indeed made by Secretary Cardona, which again, you confirmed today. But based on what administration's officials were telling the press at the time, this mass student loan transfer scheme has never really been about the Secretary's authority to provide emergency relief because in fact, the Secretary himself said previously he didn't have the authority to do this, or there was no authority for the administration to do this, as did Speaker Pelosi, as did President Biden. Himself had said previously they didn't have that authority to do it. But this has always been about a political agenda. And I would say that's consistent with the timing of this announcement that was right before the midterm elections, which is interesting timing to announce that you're going to transfer student loan debt from those who didn't borrow it, or from those who borrowed it, rather, to hardworking taxpayers who did not borrow it. And so I appreciate you confirming today that was actually the Secretary's decision, not the President's decision. But thank you, and I yield back my time.